Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Mark Morowitz, he's my financial guy, and I, for all of you who read Boomer Times, and hopefully you do, you will see his great articles every month. You'll learn a lot. And although he is a CPA, he doesn't always write about CPA things. He writes about humanistic things, and we already have someone watching.
Oh, good.
So, Diane Potter. Okay, Diane.
Hi, Diane.
Hi. But you write about a lot of things, but this time I want to talk about the financial world. It seems that we're being surrounded by it anyway. But Ponzi schemes, and what did the word Ponzi? Was that a person that did something?
That was an Italian man who created an investment scheme to invest people's money, promise them a lot of money, and the only way he could provide that return to his investors was to get more investors and pay the investment returns with the new investment money. So he never really made the money promised. So it was like taking money, robbing Peter to pay Paul.
But people did get the money at first, right? Before, as he could keep getting more in there.
As it, when you promise somebody, like if I were to go out tomorrow and say, you know what, invest your money with me, I'll get you 3% return. People will say, well, I could do that anywhere. I said, all right, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 10%. Really? Well, I can't get 10% anywhere. I said, fine, give me 10%. So there's no way I can go out unless I risk the investment, in some super risky things. There's no way I can make 10%, okay? So what happens when people start demanding the 10% return on their money? I have to go out and get new investors, and the only way I can pay the old investors is with the new investors' money. And eventually, you have to keep doing that and doing that and doing that until everything falls apart, because eventually you run out of money. That's what happened to Bernie Madoff, okay? It was like the exact situation. He did so well for everybody. The smart people said, you know what? I've made enough. Send me my money. So when people started saying, send me my money, okay, that's what he did, and eventually more people. It was like the run on the banks during the Depression. Okay, everybody said, "Give me my money back." Well, the banks didn't have all the money sitting in the vault, so they all started to have to close because people were standing online saying, "I want my money, I want my money." And by that time, the banks all ran out of money, and there was no FDIC and no insurance for them to get their money. And there you go. And it's the same kind of a thing. Eventually, it all blows up in your face.
So Mark Morowitz, CPA, who writes a column every month and very smart, and we all like him a lot. His phone number, if you do want to talk to him, you can talk to him for his CPA financial work, or you can talk to him because you have some senior problems or you know someone that needs his help. It's 609-338-3603, and now he has a website,
MorowitzCPA.com.
Sorry. I didn't write that down on my sheet. I'll do it. That's right. MorowitzCPA.com. Okay, we got that down. Right. New website, and that's why we're doing this. So I was thinking, though, when people were greedy to get the money from Madoff, and the surprising part was that the financial authorities knew that there's no way that all that money could be going, and yet they kept selling it to people. And why would they have done that when he was promising, 15%? A lot of money, 20%? They knew, though, that was impossible,
they
didn't
were
they?
getting 14 and 15% returns when other hedge funds were getting 8, 9%. So in order for people to invest, they were saying they were getting 15% returns when other funds were getting 8 or 9%. And they said, look how good we do. So people are naturally greedy. It's human nature. And, not everybody, but, for the most part, people want more. And if you make money and I want more, okay? And that's what they prey on.
But you as a financial expert, if you had, during that time, if you knew that was happening, wouldn't you have questioned the fact that how is that possible and not?
Absolutely would have said, this is too good to be true. And if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true, because I've lived through a lot of those too good to be true moments. So Yes. I wouldn't, there's no way I would have let any of my clients invest in that stuff. That's why I never had the opportunity to have my clients invest in that stuff. Then I wasn't the one they were looking for.
Well, every day on my internet or on my emails, I get offers. Things are just ridiculous, and so many of them are coming from throughout the world. So who are they getting, really? They must be getting people, or they wouldn't keep doing this.
There's a lot of people in this world. You know, there's what, 6 billion people in the world. There's 330 million people in the United States alone. And when we look at ourselves, we tend to look at ourselves in the area, the small geographical area that we live in, all right? And we say, well, that's not me, but that's not who we are. I wouldn't do that. I don't know anybody here who would do that. But when you go to the Midwest, people are different. People think differently. People have different goals and aspirations, and maybe they would do something like that, okay? Or out west, the West Coast is like a different world when you go there. So everybody's got different ideas, and all you need to pull something like that off is, you get a minimum investment of $250,000. If you get 1,000 people, that's a lot of money, right?
Well, I've heard about this happening, though, with some of the dating scenes.
I'll take your word for it. I haven't.
I heard about this, that there are women, mostly the women, whether they're widowed or single, but they have started romances on the internet, and obviously something happens. And I have a friend who's smart enough, and as soon as she thought this was going to really turn out to be very good, until he said something about a credit card, that he lost this and could she do this, and all of a sudden the lights went on.
Yeah.
But I do know I don't know the person personally, but it was an older woman, and she was waiting for this, and he gave a great story, and she sent him $25,000.
Yeah, simple as that. I'm sure that I could have, if I was larcenous, okay, which I'm not.
No.
Over the years, I probably could have taken in millions if I wanted to, okay? Because I'm a nice guy. I'm sensitive, compassionate, and you touch the emotions of people that makes them do this kind of thing. Okay, I don't take advantage of people, but that's exactly how they get in. Okay, and it's lonely sometimes being single, right? So here you find somebody he's whining and dining you, and the first hint should be when I forgot my credit card or I lost my something like that. Forget it, okay? Doesn't mean that you can't help and you can't pay for a meal. And what I found is that women, don't like to be insulted by not allowing them to pay for a meal, and that's fine, okay? But when somebody wines and dines you for 2 or 3 months, sleeps with you, buys you nice things, and then all of a sudden doesn't have his credit card with him, that probably means he maxed out all the credit cards that he has. All right, now he says, I need $25,000 for whatever. Okay, got a great investment. I'm gonna let you in on it. And it's amazing to me that there are men out there that actually date women so that they can get their money. It's just incredible. I mean, it's hard enough dating as it is. Have to do that.
Mark, you're not a spring chicken, nor am I. So my question is,
thank you for that.
Is this something that's new? Hasn't this always been going on, Mark?
It probably has. We just didn't know about it. Social media makes it a lot easier to know about. There were no dating websites years ago. Okay, so there were places you could go to
put ads in the newspaper.
You put ads in the newspaper. So today it's at the click of a finger. You don't have to wait for the newspaper to come out tomorrow. So. It's just I just think it's out there more, and I think it's become more normalized.
So you had said on one of your other shows, if people are working with you, all they have to do, if anything comes up, give me a call.
Correct.
Let me know and let me help you. Maybe it's going to be great, but I'll know very quickly.
Right. 3 times this week, I actually told clients of mine, thank you for calling me before you did this. It's finally sinking in. Because, not that they would have made the wrong decision, but they actually asked beforehand. Because once you make a bad decision, it's hard to get out of it. So, yes, I always advise my clients, say, if it takes me 5 minutes to figure out an answer for you, if it takes me a day and a half to consult with somebody else to make sure you're doing the right thing, it pays.
So you're listening to Mark Morowitz, and I'll give you his phone number again. It's 609-338-3603, and his website is morowitzcpa.com. Now, I'll bet there'll be some people, though, who say, well, I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care what you're saying. Have you ever had that happen?
All the time.
Oh, you do?
All the time. And you can't come back. I don't tell people I told you so. All right, people are going to make their own mistakes. They're going to do what they want anyway. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So they're free as long as they have the information available to make a decision. That's what's important. Most of the time, a lot of the times, people don't have the information available. It sounds great,
And a lot of this happens around the pool. One person says something, another person says, well, so-and-so did it, so, right?
What I find is around my pool where I live, the smartest people in the world, people know everything. And, of course they're going to know everything. If he did it, I have to do it. It's I don't know if it's something that's been forever, but I do remember my grandmother, my father-in-law, invested his mother's money when she was still alive, and back in the early 80s, the interest rates went up. Okay, so tax-free bonds went like through the roof. So they were paying like 9-10% tax-free. So my father-in-law took all his mother's money and invested it in tax-free bonds. Okay. So when it came time to April 15th, I did her tax return. She didn't have to pay any tax. And she looked at me and she said, am I going to go to jail? And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, and she was depressed. I said, what's the matter? This is great. You don't have to pay any tax. She said, well, everybody else in the building pays more tax than me. And it's almost like a contest. And I realized that, when people get older, they're competing against me. You want to be the richest older person in the building. Okay? I mean, that's just the way it is. I get it. I found that over the years.
I didn't know people, though, talk about their own personal finances with people like that.
It's just like Facebook. You can't believe everything you read or hear on Facebook or on any social media. People want to be better than you. They want to be more important than you. And what's the easiest way to do that? People can't lift weights when they get older. They can't lift as much. Money. Okay, so they're going to lie about the money that they have, or their brother-in-law's girlfriend's best friend, or that has a great stock that they know about.
So, Mark, is this more prevalent with women than men? I mean, do you have men that also do foolish things?
Yeah, of course, but you don't hear about it as much as the women that do. Okay, yeah, I mean, everybody makes bad decisions when they. I don't know the real reasons why people do it. I've never done a study on it. I mean, a lot of times it's out of greed. A lot of times it's to keep up with the Joneses. A lot of times it's to feel better about themselves, and it happens. But if it's a financial decision, when you get older, you can't risk the assets that you have because they have to last you the rest of your life. You can't just go out and work a 40-hour week anymore. So that's why it's so important for older people to understand when bad things may be happening.
And you brought up a very good point. It wasn't for that, but we have to also make sure people love their kids. But when kids need money, good kids wouldn't do this, but there are kids who will convince their parents that they should help them with certain things. And I'm sure that's hard for you to say to a parent, well, you can't give them this, but this happens a lot. I know that. I've known people who have taken. I mean, my own mother, though my brother wasn't very nice. My mother already had some dementia. She wrote him a check for $22,000 to buy a car, and of course, I was writing all her checks and books, and I saw that. She said, "Well, he needed a car."
Well, if you can do it, you do it. I mean, they're going to get you whatever's left. The problem is that when people don't have anything left and they're still alive, and people are living a lot longer than they used to, who's going to provide for them? The kid's not going to provide for them. Okay, so I've gotten a lot better at telling people not to give their kids money. I've gotten better at telling my own kids they're not getting my money. But you know, you have to. It's difficult for parents. Parents are only as happy as their least happy child. Okay.
Ah, that's good. I never heard that. Their least happy child.
Correct. So if
there's always one of them.
There's always one that's got to be the least happy. I've never seen a whole family that's all been happy. It just doesn't work that way. Everybody's got different things going on.
That's a terrible thing to say.
No, I mean, there's always somebody that's got something bad happening in their life. Always, whether it be young children that have autism or something. You know that not every you'll see everybody in the family with a cheery face, but trust me, they're not all happy. It just doesn't work that way. That's life.
Okay, so let's go back to what your profession really is as a CPA and as someone who also mixes up being a senior caregiver in a sense. When someone makes that phone call, that 609-338-3603, what are your questions? Hello, I heard you on the radio. Hello, I saw your article in Boomer Times. So what are your questions?
Right, so my first question to them is, how can I help you? What is it that you'd like me to discuss with you? And then they might say something like, well, what do you do? You know, and I said, well, you know, if you're having trouble paying your bills, you know, physically getting things done, if you're starting to be forgetful and you don't get all your bills paid, or you forgot to pay an electric bill and they're gonna cut you off, you're afraid they're gonna cut you off, or you have a homemade and you're not happy with the homemade, I can sit down with you and formulate a plan to make sure that all this stuff gets done. Okay, I can help you with all that.
So I haven't done my taxes, so what do I do now?
So you have to accumulate everything, and if you don't know where things are, I'll get a transcript for you and we'll put something together. I've dealt with that for years and years and years. I think I told the story one time about the 90-year-old guy, that client of mine that used to call me every year, and I'd go to his house and we'd sit around the counter in the kitchen and we'd talk for a few minutes, and then he'd start handing me his 1099s and stuff like that. And one year he called me and said, it's time to do taxes, and I went to his house and we sat there for 10 minutes and I said, okay, you know, where's your stuff? And he said, I don't have any stuff. I said, what do you mean? He said, what am I supposed to have? I said, you know, every year we sit here. He says, yeah. He says, but I didn't get anything. I said, you have to have it. I said, let me ask you something. What do you do with your mail? Who opens your mail? He says, I do. I said, well, what do you do with it? He says, I open it up. If it's not a check, I throw it away.
Seriously?
So as luck would have it, he fell. He was 92 years old. He fell, ended up in a nursing home for rehab, and I had to sit with him in the nursing home. I sat with him for 2 hours making phone calls to get copies of everything. Luckily, I know what he was supposed to have.
Yeah, because from the last year he was so helpful.
Well, not everybody keeps copies of all of that stuff. So
you do.
Because I said, you know what? I'm always going to plan for the worst. So in case they don't have it, I'll have it.
That's an interesting story, because my father, who was an attorney and lived alone, he was different. What he did is he saved everything because he thought those were going to now be new clients, even though in his late 80s. So he saved. So you go in there, piles and piles of things.
Right.
So, you know, they do different.
Well, I save those too, but I save them in PDF files on the computer. I don't have them in piles of paper. Those pieces of paper get scanned, and I have the cloud. I have a server in the sky somewhere, okay? And that's where my files get stored.
Well, then help me with something,
Sure.
because my administrator sends me, of course, receipts and paid receipts and a lot of things, and I've been just making copies and putting them in files. But should I be just putting them over into my email while I have everything categorized, and invoices, just throw them in there? Because usually you don't need them except for that one person that didn't get something, right? Usually
right.
you don't need that.
Right.
But I keep it. Why do I keep it?
Well, you have a business.
Yeah, but I'm saying even the business, maybe I don't have to keep it.
Well, no, business expenses you should keep copies of for 3 years.
But can't you put them just in our email? Can't you just
can
throw it into the where it says
computer.
invoice, which I do with other things?
On your computer.
Yeah, on my computer.
Absolutely. You don't need hard copies of
Yeah,
them.
but then what if my computer goes down? Well, I have it on the. I do have it on the cloud.
That's why you need to make a backup.
Yeah.
Whether it's on the cloud or on a disk, you know, you need to have a backup. So if you have a
Right.
backup, you can always print it out once it's there.
It's true. Because see, now I've been thinking a lot about that. I thought, why do I keep printing all this? My printer, everything. Maybe I can do it a little differently. But I'm so paper oriented. But maybe I should not do it
That's right.
either.
By the way, this is one of the things that I do. One of the services I provide is I go to a lot of older people's houses. They have piles and piles of stuff that they don't need, and it's taking over. And I either get them to, we shred it. We save what's worth. People are amazed at how little you need to save. Okay. Well, I need it for income tax, and I always hear that. I need it for income tax. I say, why? You get a standard deduction. Everything else is reported. You don't need anything. Oh, really? I said, that's
So
right.
that's really a
So
very,
I help declutter people's homes.
Declutter.
I
You're a declutterer.
I'm a declutterer. Okay?
Have you always been like that yourself, or is
No.
it your profession?
No, when things started to take over, when clutter is I just saw an article a couple of weeks ago. Clutter is known to create stress in people's lives. Okay, and when you have less clutter, when you come into a house and there's nothing laying around, it's so pleasant. When there's stuff laying around, it's just one of those things. And I'm not talking about hoarders. I mean, just like
I understand.
clutter.
Yeah, I understand that.
Like when I get the 10 Boomer Times magazines that and I open them up, I don't know what to do with them, so they kind of like sit on the counter for a little while.
Yeah, then you toss them or give them to someone. Hopefully.
Right.
Give it to someone else. Right.
Right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I'm probably more guilty of that. But I keep it and then I put it away in files, and you're right. I probably need to go through all the files, but I've been doing this for 30 years, so
it's hard.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think it. Yeah, but anyway, it's always a good conversation with you because we kind of fly around here. We don't just stick to one thing, and that's what you like, isn't it?
So versatile. I can do a lot of different things, and I've always said I'm a good psychiatrist. I don't prescribe any medication. That's against the law. But I understand. I guess, like you said, I'm no spring chicken. So I guess I've experienced a lot of stuff, and I have this calming nature about me. And people tend to appreciate that. They feel comfortable, and so they open up.
So what happens to the new people going to college who decide they want to be an accountant then a CPA? Are they going to learn things differently than you did as you were getting educated, do you think? Is it different?
There's computers now. I don't know that they're learning anything different. The believe it or not, the accounting rules are different. They continuously change. How you learn to deal with the public, okay, that can't change. Okay, what I found is the younger people don't like to deal with the public. I just had a conversation before with my marketing person, and I love her dearly, okay, but she's a millennial, and she texts me, and I say, can we talk? I know I'm old, but can we talk, okay? And she says, oh yes, of course. So I like to talk. I just find it easier to express myself, my views and my feelings through my mouth, not through my text, okay? And plus there's times you can't text. You're driving in the car or whatever, but you can always talk. So the younger group of people have missed out on communication skills and developing those skills over the years. My kids are more are happier texting than they are talking. It's okay. It is still a form of communication, and people should not dismiss it. But how does somebody really get to know their accountant? How does somebody really get to know their clients? They have to talk to them.
No, definitely in your profession. But there are many times that someone says something to me, and all I have to say is okay. So I text it. Okay, doesn't have to. But then there are times I have to go into a long discussion, and then I go to email, really. But the interesting thing, Mark, is that a lot of people now are so used to texting, they don't even read their emails. And then I'll say, well, I sent you something. Well, I didn't read my email. So now I text and say, please see your email.
True, that's true. And I still like the personal side of it. I just find that that's so much more fulfilling to me, is to see somebody smile.
Sure, I agree.
Although, nowadays I have clients I've never met, I've had them for 35
You've
years.
Never met them.
I've never met them, and you don't need to meet them. And they send you their stuff. You talk on the phone. I've seen pictures of them on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, but I've never met. And you develop a trust because you talk. They hear you on the phone. Yeah. When you text somebody, you really develop a trust out of that. And what I do for a living, whether it be elder care services, tax services, accounting services, it's all based on a trust.
Yeah.
Okay, people need to trust me in order to open up their financial lifestyle to me.
Well, you're a very trustworthy person. I mean, I can attest to that, and we're so happy that you take the time to do this. We actually, we have quite a few more people on now.
Great.
My heavens, yeah, we have. I guess there's. Anyway, I know a lot of these people on here. They're all professionals, so that's good.
They must have been taking a break in the impeachment hearing.
Maybe so, or maybe they had them on and then they're doing this on the side. That's true. That's another whole story. But I just want everyone to know that you can actually get Mark now. You can see who he is by going to his website, which is morowitzcpa.com.
I dressed up for a couple of pictures on that website too. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. So thank you very much, Mark. We appreciate your coming in. Look forward to your excellent article coming up for December.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody. We'll be back.
Have a great day.